Well, thank you, Chairman Johnson and Ranking Member McCaskill. I look forward to working with both of you. And General Kelly, thank you so much for being here today, for your service to your family. I echo the thanks you've heard today for your service and sacrifice. We are very, very grateful. I wanted to just start by asking a question on cybersecurity that's kind of hit my neck of the woods a little bit in the last couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, the Washington Post reported that a hacking group connected with the Russian government managed to infiltrate the Burlington Electric Power Company in Vermont. And New Hampshire and Vermont, as you know, have many shared utility connections along the border between the two states. I think we all agree that foreign infiltration into our utility infrastructure, into any of our infrastructure, is unacceptable. And with DHS being responsible for securing critical infrastructure from both physical and cyber attack, I'm just curious about what steps you think DHS needs to be taking to prevent cyber attacks on critical infrastructure and confronting foreign nations' cyber espionage efforts.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing we can do, obviously, is just outreach to everybody, whether it's power plants or other commercial interests. The problem, as we discussed, is just it's constant, it's relentless. Right. It's from nation states, it's from mafia-type organization, and it's just from vandals. But I think the solution is, A, outreach to offer the protections that exist now. And then, I mean, the threat changes so rapidly we can't keep up with it. We have to find a way, I think, to keep up with it.
Yeah. Thank you. There's been a lot of discussion among committee members about the opioid, heroin, and fentanyl crisis, which is devastating all of our states, but New Hampshire has been particularly hard hit. And there's been excellent discussion, I thought, about issues on the southern border concerning the fentanyl crisis in particular, too, because that's really changing the way drug dealers are operating, the ease with which fentanyl can be made. The profit margins are huge, and the addictive nature of fentanyl is even greater than other opioids. But one of the things that I am heartened by is your focus on the demand side of this crisis. And it would be, I think, heartening to the people of my state and our country if you can commit on behalf of DHS, should you be confirmed, to partner with this committee, with governors around the country, to really look at the overprescribing of opioids in this country and treat it as the security threat that it is. Is that something you can work with us on and commit to?
I look forward to that, Senator.
Okay, thank you. I'll add to the northern border chorus, by the way, just to say don't forget us.
Forget, right.
And lastly, I wanted to focus on one other issue concerning terrorism. Certainly, we are all concerned about the terrorism that is a threat from faraway places. And earlier in your testimony, you indicated that one of your goals would be to keep the terrorists as far away from United States soil as possible. But the nature of the threat is always changing, always evolving, and of late I think we all agree that there's just been a disturbing rise in homegrown terrorism. And no matter how secure our borders are, terrorist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda certainly, we know, use the internet to encourage and inspire troubled Americans to carry out violence at home. So how do we go about tackling that particular challenge, and what partners will be most valuable for DHS and the American people in this fight?
Tough problem, to say the least. And as I've discussed with a number of senators, I think it really does start with families and with churches, synagogues, mosques. Yeah. There's, the homegrown, if you will, terrorists, not just ISIS-inspired. I mean, there are some pretty grim other groups of other nationalities, if you will, white supremacists, that kind of thing. Yeah. But I really do believe it starts with people, parents, understanding what's going on in the bedroom when the son or daughter's in there on the internet all the time. We kind of worry about that they're on inappropriate, porn sites or something. But the fact is, that I think that's where it starts in many ways. Who knows why they get disaffected with the country, but that they get on those nets or those websites, and it poisons their mind, I think. And I think in the churches, synagogues, whatever, people hear them talking and should turn them in, or should at least be concerned, talk to their parents. I'm reminded of a young, I think it was a young woman down in the South who was getting radicalized clearly, and her parents noticed it and turned her in to the police. By the same token, there are other examples to where people knew that people were getting radicalized. I think the San Bernardino couple, but people were afraid to raise the red flag because they thought, A, maybe they'll do something to me, and B, maybe I'll be legally, held accountable, legally in the sense of lawsuit or something like that. But it starts there. Clearly, our law enforcement professionals then then a role. But it is a really, really tough nut to crack. I think to the senator's question about engagement with some of the parts of America that have a lot of Arab Americans, Islamic Americans, so that they feel as though they can report and not be afraid. But I think if we're going to get at this problem at all, it's really energizing communities and families to keep an eye out for the telltale signs, and then to seek help before it gets out of hand. And as I say, in that case that I know of in the South, just before it really got out of hand, they turned the daughter in. It's an act of love to get her help or to get them help. So that's where I am on it, Senator.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you for your service.
Yes, ma'am.